The story opens in the middle of a conflict. A teenager in a striking yellow and blue costume is suddenly in the air, flying while carrying a figure away from a populated area. He hurls the individual far into the distance, and a moment later, the figure explodes in a far-off blast. The hero flies away, letting out a weary sigh and muttering to himself that if he keeps this up, he is going to give himself a heart attack. The scene shifts back for months to the Grayson household. Mark Grayson is on the toilet, reading a comic book when his mother, Debbie, bangs on the door. She tells him to stop reading and start getting ready, warning him with the same phrase, if he keeps it up, he's going to give himself a heart attack. Mark brushes it off, promising he won't be late. He joins her for breakfast, noting he is ready with 10 minutes to spare. Mark asks where his father is, and Debbie explains that Nolan has had trouble at work lately. A news report on the television reveals the truth. Nolan, known to the world as Omni-Man, is currently in Taiwan battling a giant dragon-like monster. Mark watches the footage casually, joking that he hopes his dad brings him back a souvenir since he's never been to Taiwan. Later that day at school, Mark's friend William invites him to hang out at a place called Shenanigans. But Mark must decline because he has a shift at Burger Mart. While working his shift, Mark heads to the back of the restaurant to take out the trash. He tosses a heavy bag toward the dumpster, but instead of falling, it rockets into the sky with incredible force. Mark stands frozen, watching the bag disappear into the clouds. That evening, the family sits down for dinner. Nolan arrives late, mentioning he had to deal with an enchanted flood in Egypt after finishing the fight in Taiwan. Amidst talk of superhero duties and book deadlines, Mark casually announces that he thinks he is finally getting superpowers. Nolan takes the news calmly, simply asking Mark to pass the potatoes. After dinner, Mark climbs out of his window and stares at the deep drop beneath him. He contemplates whether or not he should jump. He reminds himself of his father, saying that flying is a reflex and that he should be fine. Going back and forth with positive and negative thoughts, Mark closes his eyes and instinctively jumps. When he opens his eyes, he realizes his unlocked ability of flight and soars through the night sky. Soon after, Mark decides to test his abilities in the field. Wearing a makeshift practice outfit, a yellow and orange tracksuit with a mask, he interrupts a diamond heist. He catches the thieves by surprise, but the situation is messy as they attempt to flee over a fence. When Nolan arrives on the scene, he is horrified by Mark's choice of clothing. Asking what in God's name he is wearing, Nolan takes Mark to see Art Rosenbaum, a specialized tailor who has designed costumes for Omni-Man for years. In Art's secret workshop, Mark looks at various designs, including a solar-powered suit, but finds them lacking. Art explains that to create something truly iconic, he needs to know Mark's superhero name. Mark admits he hasn't even thought about it yet. The next day at school, Mark is called into the principal's office after a physical altercation with a bully named Derek. Mark explains he was defending another student who was being picked on. The principal acknowledges that Mark is a good kid, but warns him that it isn't his responsibility to protect everyone, stating, "You're not invincible, you know." The word resonates with Mark. The issue concludes with Mark in his finalized blue, yellow, and black costume, confronting a group of armed thugs. When they threaten to blow him away, he stands his ground with a confident smile and declares his new name, "I'm Invincible."